Hello and welcome to what is probably the first part of my filter installation. So this is the filter I've been talking about. It is a shower filter and it's a pressurised one. Interesting looking thing, might be a bit ugly, but it's going in my basement, so I don't care what it looks like as long as it's out my way. So what we've got here is, this is the outlet and this is the inlet at this side. So when I install it permanently, it's going to be gravity fed, but I wanted to test it on pump fed to see how it goes. So I'm going to pump the water out this tank into it, and I'll sort of show you how it actually works as we go along. But essentially there's a pipe that comes in here straight up and then to about here, where it overflows over a grid and then showers down through what's going to be a media, and then you can see that dark patch there is where the media stops, and then this bit will be full of water, so that your pump can go on the outlet here and pump the water back to the pond. But obviously this one's pump fed, not gravity fed. So this bit from that dark patch there to that dark patch there is where your media goes and hopefully showers through. So let's get on with testing it. So before we start, my first test is going to be without the lid on. So this is the lid that obviously keeps it pressurised. There's a gasket just here, and then this is actually a clear plastic lid, although there's a film on it to protect it. And then this is an air inlet so that I can pressurise it. But for now I want to try it without the lid on. And obviously the water level in it's going to settle about here, somewhere like that. And I want to see how the water showers through it. So we've got a clear lid, so you can be able to see through into it from the top quite nicely, but the body of the thing is it's not clear, but you can sort of see through. Obviously you can see where the shelf is just there, and that's because clear plastic's difficult to weld and not as good with pressure as this stuff, so that's why this was used instead, because it's not really important to see through it, but it'd be nice to see where the water level is. So that's why I didn't use black, because I want to be able to see where the water level is. So what I'm going to do is take the lid off and start it pumping, and we'll see how the water showers through it. So I've just took the lid off and we can see inside now. So this is where your water comes out of and into the tank, and then this is obviously there's a fine mesh, well not fine mesh, there's a mesh on top the grill so that your water gets into this section, settles and then showers through your media, and this just pops off. But for now I'm going to leave it, run the water and see how it showers through it, and later on we'll look inside. So let's get the pump going. Right then, I think we're ready for his first start up of the pump, see if the pump is actually evacuated, because obviously these need priming before the start up, so we'll see. Could be. The news. Yeah, she pumps. That's lovely, that. So the water quite comfortably runs all the way around this. I mean, this is a 13,000 litre an hour pump, and I want to put an 18 on it, but there's no trouble with water flowing through that at all. So the first section is running well. Let's see if we can see where the water level is. Right, where's the water level? Can you see it? Yeah, the water's showering through it quite comfortably, but I can't see where it's going. Maybe it'll take a minute to start filling up so we can see. So I'll come back to you in a minute when we've filled up with a little bit of water. So water's perfectly flowing through the system, but it would do, because, well, at least the tank itself doesn't seem to be leaking. So that's the amount of water we've got flowing through it. Obviously, like I said, this is a 13,000 litre an hour pump, and I would like it to be on an 18 when it's fully operational. But, well, it's running nice now, so I think it should do it fine. the water's coming out here lovely, flowing perfectly down these little holes, so it'll be showering really nice down there. Quite pleased with that actually. And the water level in it is currently there, where that red tape is. I don't know how well the camera can actually see the water just jumping about just there. But there's obviously, this is where I want the water level to be, this little dark patch here where there's a platform in it. So that's where I want the water level to be. So what I need to do now is put the lid on it and then pressurise it to push the water down to here, because the media is supposed to sit in this section here. So that'll be the first test, whether it can withstand the pressure to take it down to there, and we'll see how we go. So I'm going to put the lid on it and try and do that now. So that's the grill that we were just looking at in the top of the tank, where the water flows through to shower perfectly. I've just took it out so that we can see inside the tank and down to the bottom. So we can now see where the water level sort of sits in this tank, and you can see the pipe that comes along the bottom there and then up all the way to the top. It's got a little collar around it to support that platform, and a little collar around here, and the holes in that are bigger but not small enough, not big enough to let the media go through, because I'll be using Cyprax, so the Cyprax will sit nicely on there, and all the water should shower through it really perfectly, and it shouldn't collect any water on the bottom, so the media will be in a dry space as such. So in fact I'll just run the pump like that and we can see the water flow through it properly, flow all the way through it. There we go. Just come straight out and run straight down. Try again. Obviously, it'd be nice to see how well it actually showers inside, but I can't quite see it. I'll have to see if I can do something about that to have a look. See how well it's showering. There we go, let's get the lid back on it and see if we can pressurise the water down to the level that we want. Make sure it can actually pressurise. Oh, look at the shadow on that, looks pretty good. So let's get it pressurised. So what I've done here is I've taken the plastic cover off this lid, so we can now see that it is very clear. It looks lovely actually. And what I've done is on that outlet that's on the lid, I've put obviously a rubber joint and then this airline connector on. So this airline connector will keep the pressure in the system, and I'll be able to sort of, well, bit of bodge for now, a pressure line to it so that I can get air pressure inside the tank. One of the things I could do is, obviously the water levels up here, is let the water out, put the lid back on, and then the water should pressurise the air itself. But I want to check that I can put it under pressure to force the water out. So what I want to do is try putting it under pressure to force the water that's already in there out. And that way I know that it'll work perfectly. And hopefully the pump continues to pump more air in, to pump more water in, should I say, at the same time as the air's going in, forcing the water out. So let's get this lid on and all screwed down, and we'll see how it goes with lid screwing. There's quite a lot of screws to put in, put a lot of bolts in it, but obviously you don't want it leaking, do you? There we go, that's the lid on. I think I've misplaced one at bolts, but I've got all of them except for that one over there. Looks good. See, it should be nice and sealed, hopefully. We'll try it. I've not tightened them up very tight. I've just done, what I did is I went round it with drill so that they're all a very accurate tightness and made it quite even. So hopefully, you know, they only need to be slightly nipped up. Can't imagine they need to be really tight, there's lots of them. So it's just a question of seeing if I can get air pressure in it now and see what happens, and hopefully that one missing bolt doesn't make any difference. So let's have a go and see if I can get air to it. So here we go, I've rigged it up what I've done is I've just connected an air line to that, and it goes down here to this scuba cylinder here, and then there's a regulator on this scuba cylinder. So one of the comments I got quite a bit on the previous video where I talked about this design is that a Bakki shower needs a constant supply of air. That's one of the advantages to them. I'm not 100% sure about that. I know that the water coming out of a Bakki shower has less oxygen in it than the water going in, so that means it does use the oxygen out of the water. That doesn't mean it doesn't use the oxygen out of the air around it as well, but it does use the oxygen out of the water. However, I do have an advantage with this. Because I can compress it with the scuba cylinder like that, I can also compress it with an oxygen cylinder. So this regulator here is actually the regulator I use for my oxygen cylinder, to reduce the pressure from 230 bar to 8 bar. But it also does a lot less pressure, so I'm hoping I can just get the pressure just right to hold a little bit in it. And what I'll do is I'll get the water level down to here, and then let that off there, and it should keep the pressure in. And then one of the things we'll see then is where the bubbles and the water stirring up, I'll actually use the air pressure and take it out with it, because that's one of the things I'm thinking might happen, which would be a good thing, because if I did compress it with an oxygen cylinder, the oxygen cylinder itself might last a month, which would be great, but that mean that there's an air circulation in that. However, if there's no air circulation in it and the compressed air stays exactly the same all the time, one of my plans is to either let the pressure out so it just fills straight up to the top with water and then repressurise it with fresh air, or something I haven't got around to yet is put another inlet in the top, or an outlet I should say. And what I could do is use a normal pond air compressor that you use for your air stones, put that on the inlet, and then on the outlet have a pressure relief valve, and set it so that the pressure relief valve keeps the pressure at exactly the right point. And then if as the air pump's blowing air in, the excess pressure will be relieved out, so there'll be constantly fresh air in. So that's another option. If like injecting it with pure oxygen and stuff like that is no good. But first of all, we'll try it. You know, I can run it for a couple of months like it is, and I can put that valve on later on and just, you know, learn. It's all a learning curve to see how it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand aside here and I'm going to pressurise it and see if I can keep an eye on the water level. And I'll keep the camera recording in case it explodes, and which obviously we don't want, but there we go. We'll see what happens. Right, so if I put the air pressure on, and you can see that the water's flowing out a bit faster. In fact, a lot faster. Might have to slow that air going in. Oh yeah, the water's coming down. So I might... Where's the water level there? It's just dropped a little bit, I think. Let's have a look over the top, see what the pump's doing. See, the pump's letting in a little there. Can't particularly feel any air flying out anyway. What I want to do is get it till air comes out there and see if that's your maximum amount of pressure then. You can see that the water tank's filling up, so it's definitely displacing a lot of water. Hopefully the scuba cylinder don't run out, looks like it's gonna do. Might have to get another scuba cylinder. I think I might stop it at that. If I stop it there, and then take that off like that, you can see if it'll hold pressure, because I know that that water level there is exactly at the top, right on the top. So if that drops, then I know more water's gone into the system. Still seems to be pumping just the same, flowing just the same. Can hear a little bit of noise, but it's hard to tell whether there's air leaking out or just water flow noise. It does seem to have changed in pitch, the water in here. Feels like it's making a lot of different noise, but if you look there, the water level's now here, look. So the water level's right there, whereas it was where that red tape is, so it's dropped from there to there. So it's much lower than I need it. What I'm going to do is put a piece of red tape just there, and I'm going to leave it running for an hour and see if it holds that level. So where I've put that red tape, I don't know whether the camera can see it, but the water level is just above it. So the water level is just above that red tape, so if it comes substantially above it, we know that we're either leaking or the system somehow using air by the air being absorbed into the water. So we'll see how it goes for a bit. It only flipping works, I can't believe it. So we're about an hour later and the water level in this tank has stayed exactly the same, pretty much, and the water level on the filter stayed exactly the same. Right there, look. I don't know whether you can see it now, the sun's on the wrong side. So it's working absolutely spot on, and quite pleased with it. Exactly how I predicted it to work. So you can see with this rubber joint here that there's quite a bit of pressure on it. It's quite, I mean, it's not a lot of pressure. Like, this can be inflated, this can be filled up with air with a normal Airstone air pump, so you could just like connect the air line to it. You'd want to make sure it's sealed, because if it blows a line off, especially if this line blows off in basement, it would be a big water fountain. It definitely let out a lot of water. So anything that needs connected, this will be solvent welded when I'm finished with it, so it can't burst off. But I like the idea of having one of these connectors on it, so I can fill it with pure oxygen if I like. And I will probably decide later on whether I want to either fill it with pure oxygen or have an air pump that blows air in, a relief valve that lets air out. That's not 100% decided yet, we'll have to tell. But I think I'll run it first with just normal air from a scuba cylinder or something like that, just because it's easier for me, and just see how it runs when I get it in basement. That's the biggest challenge now, getting this into the basement of the fish house. It's going to be under there. In fact, one thing I would like to do on camera is see what happens when you turn the pump off. Obviously it stops pretty quick. The water level is staying exactly the same. Is it pushing a bit out? Let's see. Yeah, it's pushing a little bit, the air pressure is pushing a little bit of water backwards. Obviously the pump pushes against the air pressure, so it keeps a little bit of air pressure in it. So a small, obviously not very much, but a small amount of water will be displaced to reduce the pressure. Can't really tell if it's gone, it might have gone down a little bit, it's hard to tell. And I imagine the water has gone right down the pipe. Yeah, so the water's gone right down this pipe, probably to the level of that tank, maybe just below the level of that tank. That's why it's pushing water over the top, because the water in the pipe has come right down. So yeah, there we go, perfect. There's a flipping leaf in it just there, look. It's about right. Got to take all the lid off just to get a leaf out. And we'll start it up. No problem, just start straight back up again. No problem. So only thing to do now is to in fact, let's relieve the air pressure. So I've got my airline here. I can put that in there and release the air. Hard to do it with one hand. There we go. Yeah, it's not blowing out very fast, I think you can hear it. It's blowing out a little bit. But, it's not like a right lot, but it's like it's basically just blowing out like a bubble thing would. So if I put the end of this in here, that's the air pressure escaping out the filter. And obviously that water will be very slowly dropping. If I just leave that there, it'll bubble away. Yeah, it doesn't. So it's not like it burst out anyway. There's not tons of pressure on it, just a little bit. I'm not sure. I've been thinking about it, but I'm not sure how this affects the pressure on your pump. So what I'm thinking of is normally the pump would have to pump to this point here, because that's where the pipe is on the inside, just there, it must be about here. So that's sort of your head out of your pump. So that's the pump's, that's what the pump's got to pump to. So that's the pressure on your pump. But obviously I'm increasing the pressure, but I'm increasing the pressure on the pump by the difference from the bottom of that to the outlet. So I think in this case it rises another 2 foot. So I think the actual, when this is pressurized with air, I think the pressure on your pump is probably as if the pipe was set 2 feet higher than at this point, with the way I've got it set up now. So if I had this whole tank lowered down, so if the water level of the pond was already up here, then the head out pressure on the pump is the difference between the bottom of this to the top. So it's kind of strange. So basically the pump has to pump it uphill. However, when I'm going to be plumbing it to my pond, the pump's going to be pumping it out of the system, so the pressurized water is going to be pushing the water into the pump, so it may help it as such. So I don't know, it's something I need to sort of sit down and work out, that how this setup could affect the pump. I'm not quite sure, but I do think when you're pumping into it, I think the pump sees this head out naturally, and I think with the pressurised air it increases the head out by this much to there, so it's basically like pumping it up another 2 feet from that point. So that's how it affects it. But when this is going to be in the basement, the water will sit naturally at the level of the water of the pond, so there'll be no head out, there'll be no head pressure on the pump at all. So when the pump's pumping from it, there shouldn't be any pressure on it at all. It'd be as if it's pumping straight from the pond and straight back into it. There shouldn't be any extra work the pump's got to do. So it's quite interesting. It didn't really affect this pump because it's a fairly powerful little pump. But yeah, I wanted to put it on an 18,000 litre an hour pump, not a 13,000. If you like this video, then please like it. If you've got any questions or comments, then please put them down below. The comments I got on the previous video about this filter were really helpful regarding the air circulation in it. So if you've got any ideas or points that you might think are helpful, then please put them down below. But if you want to see more videos like this, especially on this filter, and more fishing related videos, then please feel free to subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.